Regulated and Relational, a bi-monthly podcast brought to you by the Attachment and Trauma Network. In today's episode, Julie and Ginger talk with Billy Kaplan. Together, they reflect on the power of reframing, the meaning of the PACE approach, and the surprising truth that sometimes the most serious work is play. Let's listen in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Regulated and Relational, our podcast produced by the Attachment and Trauma Network. I'm Ginger Healy.
And I'm Julie Beam.
And I'm Billy Kaplan.
Welcome, Billy.
Thanks. Always good to be here with you all.
Well, that's a little sneak into what is about to happen for your next 45 minutes, everybody. It's going to be nonstop laughter. We are excited to share from our professional experiences and our personal knowledge what it truly means to be attachment-focused, trauma-informed, and how we can help children impacted by early childhood trauma. Billy Kaplan is a dear friend of ATN. We love him. We know you're going to love him. And Julie, can you introduce Billy to everybody?
Of course, it is my honor to do that. And we have no idea where this interview is going, but how fun is it going to be? Billy is a licensed clinical social worker and the president and clinical director of Treehouse Health in the Chicagoland area. He has over 30 years of experience working with teens, adults, couples, and families through an attachment-focused, trauma-informed lens. Billy specializes in supporting adolescents and families, particularly those formed through adoption. He has advanced training in dyadic developmental psychotherapy and brain spotting, serving as both a practitioner and a consultant. He's a seasoned clinician, a trainer, a consultant. He's presented locally, nationally, internationally, and even with ATN. So that's that's a special honor right there, right? On topics including attachment, therapeutic parenting, adolescent development, trauma, child welfare, a lot of the things we talk to you all about, especially when we're talking about parenting and caregiving. He's consulted with social service agencies throughout the Chicagoland area and has held adjunct teaching appointments at Loyola University in the School of Social Work and the Governor's State University. Outside of his clinical work, Billy lives in the northern suburbs with his wife and daughters, where they spend more time than they'd like to admit admiring their cats. That sounds like a worthy occupation. The other fun thing about Billy is he's a singer and songwriter who performs with his own band and his synagogue's klezmer band, playing baritone ukulele and percussion. I have witnessed some of the ukulele playing. It's so fun. Billy believes deeply in the healing power of connection, joy, and play. As he often says, while the work of psychotherapy is meaningful and important, it doesn't always have to be serious. Growth can happen during laughter, creativity, and shared moments of joy. And we can definitely use all of that. So welcome, Billy. And we're hoping to really focus in on the power of laughter and the use of humor, especially as we care for ourselves and our families. So let's start talking about that.
Yeah, well, it is a really important thing to do. I think that we all have seen and experienced that things are difficult sometimes in our homes and kind of around the world a little bit right now, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that finding our way to joy, finding our way to humor and to laughter, it really does change our bodies and our chemistry in really, really great ways. And I even noticed myself when I have had a period of time where I'm realizing I haven't been laughing and haven't been having some joy and sharing with other people, that I don't feel as good. Mm-hmm. So we've got to really go out there and find ways to do it. Like you said, the work that we do is really, really challenging. But here, in my therapy office at Treehouse Health, there's no question. If you talk to any of the people that I work with, they're going to be like, "This guy is nuts."
In a good way.
In a very good way, yes. But I'm always making jokes and we're having, sharing laughter. Dan Hughes talked about playfulness as being one of the key
Yeah.
ingredients to his work.
Yes.
And from the moment people first come in, that's the way I do it. One of the shticks that I like to do a lot with the kids when I first meet them is I go and I shake their hand, but I hold their hand and I keep shaking it. And I'll
Mhm.
say, "Are you nervous? You seem to be shaking a lot." But it kind of cuts through it just a little bit, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because they're afraid of meeting me. Who's this guy? What's going to go on here? My parents want me to have therapy. And I'm like, yeah, but we can have fun. We're going to play.
Hmm.
And as we all know, kids learn through play.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if we're not having fun, we're not learning.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then my work is boring. I don't want to be a boring therapist. So tell me about your dreams. And no, I never.
Yeah. Right.
Billy,
Well,
have you always been like this? Is this just something that comes natural to you? No, this is a legitimate question.
always been
Yeah,
like this, Billy.
Gotta be something here where you really learned too and felt this healing power of laughter and humor. I mean, I know your personality. I adore your personality, but how did you get to this place that this is one of your superpowers?
well, it really comes from sources of pain, uh,
Mm,
right? And to draw the linkage to my lineage, Jews have notoriously been a lot of comedians and have found the humor because things have been so hard for us in so many ways in so many places.
Mhm.
So I can see the thing and we can be very serious about it, or I can see it and then we're going to find that playful way because we have to lighten our spirits because our spirits can get so heavy. So it's kind of searching for it. Yeah, I've always been a bit of a nutcase. Um, as you all have heard me probably say, there's only one thing I like more than being in the front of a room full of people and making them laugh is to be doing that with a microphone in my hand. Um,
spread it further.
Absolutely. And even the conferences that we used to have that we're not doing much anymore, we started out with, doing improv theater, getting people laughing right away at the very beginning, because everybody used to come to this and they were all afraid of being judged by everybody else for their parenting styles, because they've had to do what they thought are weird things to try to help their kids. And then it turns out, we're all just kind of strange. We all have to do very strange things, what people would consider strange, most people, in order to actually break through. I got to share one story that came to mind as soon as we talked about the joy. So I had this one mom I was working with, and she had a late teen, a 19, 20-year-old, who was at home, and he was literally doing the sitting on the couch in his underwear all day long playing games thing.
Mhm.
And it was driving her kind of nuts, and especially to see him sit around in his underwear. And she's like, "Well, let's get some clothes on," and he just wouldn't do it. So I came up with a suggestion for her, and at first she was like, "I can't do that." I'm like, "Well, I wonder what'll happen if you try it." And I asked her to come downstairs in her underwear only,
Uh-oh.
and then stand in front of the TV and the screen. And guess what? He never did it again. Because
What a shock.
it was very right. He got shocked, and she's like, "This is fun. Okay, I'll do that. I'll try that." It was really great. It was a
Yeah.
really great moment.
Yep.
I
Well,
would
and
love to have been there when she did it.
this is the intersection where I met Billy. I met you at one of your conferences where it started with the improv and the whole concept of yes and I kept thinking this is such a valuable skill for parents to have to lighten the stress and the loads in their households. This skill of improv and thinking outside the box in a very creative, funny way. And it was magical to me. I don't know where the question is in all of that, except to say it was, the laughter and the way that it broke the ice for all of these very stressed out, exhausted parents was.
Well, and I get the stressed out, exhausted parents here in my office all the time.
Yeah.
And they sometimes can't believe the things that I say or that I do. but I'm going to do them because, things are really hard. But if we just focus and, get very serious about the work, well, the
Mhm.
serious part about the work is play,
Mhm.
and finding some joy in what's going on. I've had parents, for one mom, told me about it. Some of our kids really like to play with things that come out of their body. Poop, I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And so one mom said, yeah, she drew something on the wall. I was like, oh, it's such a horrible thing. The image of it. And then I said, now, was it just a Rorschach test, or did it look like you?
Mhm. Yeah.
And she
Was
said,
it real
oh,
artwork?
come to think of it, it did look like me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, right.
Yeah.
Um, Cleanup was still not fun, but thinking of it in different terms helped a little
Well,
bit.
and looking at your child from a strengths-based perspective, right? I mean, that was,
Right.
um, that was important.
Yeah, you have a skill. How wonderful that you have this skill. It's kind of shocking how often I've seen parents who don't recognize these core basic things. I remember many years ago, I was working with a foster mom and her teenage son, young teen. And when I first met her, she was talking about these horrible drawings that he made, just terrible drawings.
Mhm.
She kept going back to it. So finally I had to say, hey, kiddo, can you go get me some of those drawings and let me see them? So he went to his room and he came back and he had many, many drawings, and they were all of people's heads being decapitated and their arms being cut open and blood squirting out and all these things. So the images themselves
Mhm.
were horrible. But my reaction was, oh my gosh, your ability to draw the human anatomy is amazing. Did you know that people do that for a profession? And mom, we could get him lessons. She was blown away by
Her
it.
mind was
Like,
blown.
no,
Yeah. She's like,
I
what are you
never could.
talking about?
What are you talking about? He just does these horrible things. I'm like, yeah, but look at the detail.
Yeah.
Look at his ability and find the joy in these things, which is the profound detail and skill of drawing that he was able to put into them. And then
You
take those
know,
things and shift them to somewhere else.
okay, that's the word I was just going to use is shift. Because as a parent, it's hard. And yes, those drawings are scary, and there's something underlying that we want to help and we want to fix and we want to stop. And so we tend to get stuck. And so I love this idea of using strengths, humor, play to shift so that we don't get stuck. Because, we are talking about big, heavy, hard things, and that's what you do. And so not only for yourself, but for the parents and for the child to be able to continue to move and continue to heal. This is a game changer. It doesn't come easy to a lot of people. There may even be people listening who feel like this is irreverent, this is not appropriate. But the truth is, we are talking about shifting perspectives and healing the nervous system and rewiring the brain. And it's got to be done intentionally.
It does. And we can reframe. It's kind of like yes, and we can also reframe just about anything,
Mhm.
right? A
Mm.
friend of mine had a really hard time getting her kid to get on what she used to call the great grand yellow chariot, the school bus,
Right.
right?
Oh, okay.
And she liked the time of day when everybody got on the yellow chariot and went away to give her a couple of hours, which is very, very fair. One of her kiddos, she had to reframe about what it was going to be like to get him out the door because, right, we have these expectations. We want our kids to have their backpacks all together, to be properly dressed, and all these things. And for her, she was really happy in the winter, when he put on shoes and socks. Um, Only shoes and socks.
Oh.
Strictly shoes and socks. And then she was happy, like, you got dressed. See you later, buddy. And now she'd already had a backpack full of clothing, and the school had clothing and that kind of stuff. But That's how she could get him off the door, was by reframing, instead of saying, this is a failure, I can't get my kid dressed and on the school bus,
Right.
saying, I got his shoes and socks on today. But
Yeah.
we have to reframe it. Have to
Yeah.
find the ways of saying, no, this is okay.
Right.
Kids very often, it's a debate, unfortunately, a lot of us parents take is say, I don't want to go to school today. And then we get into a big fight about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My thing is, they say, I don't want to go to school today. I'm like, oh, great. Thanks for letting me know. What do you want for lunch? Right? I'm not going to take, I don't want to go to school today is a great opinion. Thanks for sharing it. I love hearing that.
Right.
That's wonderful.
I've heard it. I'm listening.
Yep.
I'm agreeing. Going to school sucks. I don't want to go to work today. It sucks.
Right.
And I'm going to put, how about if I put 2 cookies in instead of 1 in your lunch today? That make things a little bit sweeter for you? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Power struggle averted. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yes. And that's one of the
Nobody
great things
wins
that
in a
playfulness
power
is so good for, is averting those power struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Nobody wins.
Yeah.
No. So one thing that I used to do with my kiddo when she was younger, my youngest, like most of our kids, they don't want, if we say, okay, it's time to go upstairs and go to bed, oh,
No.
that's when the problems come in, right? So I learned to not say it anymore. And what I would just do is I would sit down on the couch, kind of on the edge of the couch, and I'd say, this is when my kid was little and I could do this and I had the strength for it. I would say, oh, honey, did I tell you that my back hurts? And if anybody gets on my back right now, I'm going to be stomping mad. And my kiddo would get on my back and I'd stand up and I'd stomp around and I'd stomp up the stairs. And then I'd say, I'm so tired, I'm just going to fall over. And I'd sit down on the toilet seat with her there. And then we're upstairs, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
instead of fighting about the toothbrushing, because it's always a good source for fights, instead, we'd have a contest. And the contest was always, who could brush their teeth the longest? Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
the
Challenge
longest.
accepted. Yep.
Exactly. I always lost. They always won. Oh,
Yep.
no.
Yep. Yep. No.
This-
And what you just done, Billy, is give examples for parents of children who have attachment challenges. And now you're giving us examples for children that don't necessarily have, because all children are going to be resistant to what they don't want to do, but Harley can resist the playfulness of what you just described. Yeah.
It's very hard to resist a playful competition, right? There's no serious consequences. One of the things a lot of kids in my practice like to do is they like to lay down on my couch, right? Great, I got no problem with that. As long as you don't have your shoes on, like your house, these is nice things, take your shoes off, as long as they don't smell too bad. And if they do, we have a bathroom and mom or dad can take you there and wash your feet and bring you back here. And then the bell rings, meaning that somebody else is here because the session's over, and then the kids don't want to put their shoes on, right?
Right.
We got a power conflict. No, we don't. We have a competition. Hey, dad. Hey, mom. Who do you think get a shoe on first, me or you? Ha ha ha. And I always lose that battle as well.
Right.
But the shoes get on.
Yep.
And then the kid's so happy because they help mom to win. Because, if these are the 2 legs, this is the one for the kiddo, and this is the one for me. And I, moving all around the place. This is great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it makes this atmosphere and you had kind of talked about this at the beginning, that if you're nervous to go to therapy or nervous to go to school or whatever you're kind of worried about or resistant to, it's like now you've had this little challenge and you've overcome it and it's not so bad. So you've learned, I can do that again. It wasn't so bad. And all the good with it. All those like anticipatory, I don't know, what if, kind of squashes a lot of that.
Well, when kids get to me, sometimes they've been to several other therapists, and again, they're like, Billy, you're so weird. And I'm like, well, I do that on purpose because I'd rather be weird. Would you rather me be weird than boring?
Yes.
I mean, come on, let's have some fun in here, and we'll still learn and we'll do some serious work. But we can have fun. Like, for instance, when I do use brain spotting with kids, I always make sure that towards the end, because it can be kind of intense, that towards the end, we're just going to do some play, for play's sake. Let's really play a game of Uno. And we're just playing Uno. We're not even playing therapeutic Uno. It's just Uno. They're like, really? Can we do that in therapy? Like, yeah, sure we can.
Yeah.
Of course we
Why
can.
not? What do
All
you
the time building some kind of a relational back and forth, a serve and return, like all of the basic attachment things are there, even though obviously we know that we're not trying to get any children to attach to you. That's not the goal at all. But just knowing that you can be safe in a relationship and have some fun and maybe
So
even
good.
find some joy, right?
Right, right. I mean, right. You're right. I don't want to be the kid's attachment figure. That's why I always have, for kids who have attachment struggles, I always have the parents in the room for
Good
that.
point.
Always is a whatever, but almost always, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I want the parents to be involved in the play also.
Mhm.
It can be really hard for parents
Yeah,
because
good point.
if they're just thinking of their kids as a whatever curse word you want to throw out there, because of how difficult it is, it's hard for parents to find their inner play.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so when I meet with parents alone, I'm going to try to help them to get through their inner play. And that's where in the past, I used EMDR. Now I use brain spotting to help parents to get back to their childishness. And that's why like TheraPlay is so great with parents who have a hard time being playful. I've just done TheraPlay with the parents, which TheraPlay always advocates. It's like, you got to remember how to play and have some fun.
Right.
It
Right.
can't all be serious. Your
Yeah.
kids are only going to learn if they're playing, and if you're just serious all the time, it's just
Yeah.
doesn't go
Well, and
anywhere.
it's hard to not be serious when your family is in crisis and all the joy has been sucked out of this, and you're, as
Yes.
Ginger said, you're stuck.
Yeah.
You are mentally and emotionally stuck at that point
Yep.
because of what's been happening in your household.
Right.
And so,
And you need to not beat yourself up for getting stuck, right? Because,
Yeah.
like you've heard me say this before, I believe and we believe that parents are doing everything they can for their kids, and then a little more than they knew they had possible to give, and still things are stuck
right.
and things aren't working well. And so, yeah, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let's work together and find other people to help you get back to some of that joy,
Mhm.
right? Secondary trauma, we know, is very real. That's the trauma of being around someone with a primary trauma, like your kid with attachment trauma problems.
Mhm.
And it can be really hard to find it. So I'm not just saying, snap, there it is, because it doesn't work like that.
Right.
But I think working with helpers who find that joy and laughter is an important part of the healing process. I know that for myself and everybody else here at Treehouse Health, that's a big piece of what we do. And when we train to parents into parenting to heal, right,
Mhm.
which have called therapeutic parenting, while we do the training, we're making lots of fun.
Mhm.
Trying to make laughter happen because it is so serious, but we're going to learn it, and we can make it okay
Right.
as best as we can.
I just think that is so critical because there have just been times that I have been working with a family or my own where there's just this underlying disappointment, anger, resentment, grief for what I hoped, wanted, should have been, could have been, all that. And the idea of going to therapy and playing, it's like, no, I want to talk about what's happening and how I've been wronged. I mean, I have felt that,
Right.
Yeah,
and also I've been told, and this is true, that I, the parent, am the strategy, which is true and beautiful, and yet carries a lot of weight when I'm not in a good place.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So
So this idea of grace is resounding to me, and that we're doing it all together, and that I'm also working on me and my issues because we bring them, we've got them. I
we all
mean,
do.
Mhm.
yeah. So thank you for leaning in there because it's a lot, right? This
Yeah.
therapeutic parenting and
Mhm.
what families are going through.
It is a lot. I've had some families, I got a sense of something from some families, and I can see that they're feeling shame about it, that they don't want to say this thing. And the thing they want to say that they don't say, but I help them to say it is, I hate my kid, and sometimes I just like to kill them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
it's
and I'm
big.
like, yeah, I get it. And so then I ask the question, how do you want to kill them? Now I ask it for two reasons. One, to make sure they're not really
Got a
homicidal, which
plan.
they're not. They're just expressing their frustration. And then two, I'm going to share crazy, stupid, bizarre ways to kill your child that make them go, oh my God, that's shocking. I can't believe that. I'm like, of course you can't believe it because it's ridiculous. But that's how mad we are. And we can even play with that and make some fun with that because we can think of really crazy. I won't even do them. I've been told not to say them anymore because it upsets people too much.
Yeah.
But they're just crazy and ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
It's
yeah,
okay to
and
have that.
it's to yeah, shock them into realizing how ridiculously funny that is. Yeah. Which leads me to ask you this question. Is there a time that and a way that we can use humor incorrectly to make the matters worse, and what can we do to keep from doing that?
Yeah, so now let's talk about us men. Um, we men often do that. We use humor. Dan Hughes talks about being playful, accepting, curious, and empathic. And when I teach it, I always say playful is the most dangerous because sometimes, especially we dads, use playfulness when things are hard instead of empathy and helping the kids to get to the tears or get to those things that they need to do. And so it's kind of kids have said, I felt like they said it to me because I've missed it sometimes. Like you shut me down when you made that joke, and I really
Mm.
was feeling very sad and having a lot of big feelings. And when you were funny and being funny, it shut me down.
In a mind
And I'm
trap.
pissed at you about that. I'm like,
Mhm.
whoa, you're absolutely right, kid. I screwed that one up completely. I'm so sorry that I missed that. And it is a typical thing that us dads do. Not that moms don't do that, because we know that moms do that too. It's just a stereotype that dads overly playful in those tough moments. So we have to use it judiciously and remember that with pace, playful is the least used of them. The accepting and curious and empathic, that's the most important stuff. The playful can kind of come at the end when the emotions and the feelings have been allowed and helped to be explored and those sorts of things because
Mhm.
that's the best way to use it after we've had a hard time. One of the things that I do with most of the adopted kids that I work with is we work to tell their story. And that's not easy. It's not just the what happened. That's not what I do. But we start with what happened, and then we say, okay, so well, this happened with when you were a baby. How do you imagine that you felt when you were a baby? So this gets to some heavy duty stuff.
Right.
But I always plan 15 minutes to the end that we're going to do some silly stuff and we're just going to play because now that we've done the hard work, let's close it off. And it's important because for a lot of our kids, all of life is difficult.
Mhm.
And it teaches a lesson that you can do something on purpose to make yourself feel better.
Mm,
It's a
yeah.
choice you can make to say, I'm going to put that aside for now, and I'm going to get on the trampoline and just have a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And I'm going to put that stuff aside because it's not healthy and helpful to carry it all the time. It's kind of
Mhm.
heartbreaking to do it all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
And so teaching that lesson to our kids, yeah, we were
Right.
doing it. This was really hard. Now we're going to stop and we're just going to do something fun.
Right. No, and I can see how that would make the leaving that session and then what happens after that so much better for the parents and the family too, because sometimes the kid is still carrying that open gaping wound that they really didn't they weren't able to put it away and move on. And it's and that's hard coming out. I've come
It
out of
is.
those therapy sessions with it was like, oh great, we're
But
we're still
what's
activated.
one of my primary goals is to not have kids leave here in a dysregulated state.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, that's one of the reasons we do the playfulness, and I also And I'm not going to get the big thing about brain spotting. We could do a whole other
We
session
could.
on that.
Mhm.
But there's a thing called resource brain spotting, which helps people's nervous system to lower and calm. And so it is a great tool that I like to use, especially at the end of sessions. If a kid is still fairly dysregulated and they're
Mhm.
willing to engage in that process, it can really lower their nervous system. So when they do go back out, they're not going to be a complete wreck to their moms, their dads, their homes, their
Yeah.
siblings, and all that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
No, that just seems so responsible to do because, because I think we've all been there where there's this dysregulation after these big moments. And, sometimes we question whether we're making things worse or making things better, but looking at it through that lens makes so much sense. And I also appreciate talking about being careful with humor, especially I'm thinking about my son who's neurodivergent and he doesn't always get humor, or
Mhm.
especially
Especially
sarcasm.
sarcasm.
It
Mhm.
hurts him. He internalizes it. He's not able to, really sift through the meaning. And so I think it's an important conversation to have.
Yeah, yeah. And as you might have noticed, I do appreciate and enjoy sarcasm. Um, and I try to minimize it with the kids I'm working with and families. And yet I still do fall into that sometimes. But what I always do is to say, hey, do you know that I was just joking?
Yeah.
And they say, yes. But you can tell on their face the answer is no. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, well, let me just be really clear. I was really, really just joking. And if you made you feel bad or whatever, I'm so sorry that was your how it impacted you. My intention was not to do that. So, really sorry that turned out that way. Just taking, again, like you were saying, Ginger, taking responsibility for it. We have to
Yes.
try and put the humor in. Sometimes it's sarcastic. We have to be checking to see how
Mhm.
it's received, right? My wife taught me this great thing about there's intention and there's impact. You may have
Mm,
the best of intentions, but if the
Right.
impact still is negative, that's all that really matters. Your intention doesn't matter.
Right.
So then
True.
you
It
got to heal
overrides
the
it.
impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. And
Smart
I've
woman, my
seen
wife.
too sometimes with siblings who are crossing the line with teasing each other. Oh, I was just teasing, not willing to kind of take accountability for there is a line. And, we
Yeah.
if it can be very painful to
Right.
be teased, and
Yeah, yeah,
targeted.
Yeah.
and that's why like trying to teach that thing of intention and impact. Your
Yes.
intention was to be playful. How did it affect your sibling? How did they react to it? So I get it that you were trying to be silly and playful, and to me, I would have understood it completely. It's unfortunate though that your sibling went the other direction with it.
Mm-hmm.
So even with them, we got to say we got to watch it and say, hey, you can say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was trying to be playful and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to
Yeah.
teach. I love it.
Great
Yeah.
thing. That's that empathy piece.
Yeah. Is empathy important?
Well, we don't know.
Are
It's at
you
the end of the PACE model. You tell us.
That's the end of the PACE model. And when I teach it nowadays, I teach it backwards and I start with empathy because
Start
it's the
with
most
empathy.
important piece of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
and it's hard to read that there's any kind of push against empathy because whoever believes that would be the case. It's it's one of the most.
Empathy is just helping the other person to feel felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There can't ever be anything wrong with that,
Yeah.
right?
No.
What their reactions and stuff might be out of proportion. They might be based on things that maybe aren't factual, but this is their experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that doesn't matter. This is how they
That
were
doesn't matter.
impacted. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Every emotions are exactly that. They're emotions and everybody has them and they're not right or wrong. And yeah.
Right. How they're expressed may be right or wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But every emotion's okay.
Right.
You can be angry or you can be angry. We want to keep it in proportion.
Right. right? You can be angry, but then if you harm something or somebody, that's, you've crossed a line, right?
How do the two of you do this? You always get me just babbling because I know we could go on. Can we do a 2-hour one? Can we just keep going?
Yeah, well, I don't know. The listeners would probably be done with their commutes or their exercise routine or whatever,
Probably.
or fixing dinner, whatever they're doing that they're watching or listening to us. But yes, it's so fun, Billy. It's so fun having you in the studio, talking to you. We will obviously put a link in the show notes about how people can get a hold of you and your practice, especially if they are in Chicago, because that would be the easiest way to work with you. Although,
can I do a little plug?
Please.
Which is that we have this therapeutic parenting model, and so we teach it to people all over the country.
Perfect.
Because it's just education. So anybody anywhere who's interested in it, and learning how to parent to heal, we'd love to help people to do that. We just adore that and help people and do coaching to help parents when they're struggling with that stuff too.
You do individual parent coaching?
Yeah.
Do you do it in groups or set times as well, or?
We've done it in groups. I prefer to do it individually because every family has their own kids and their own situations. And even though there are some universal things, we really tailor it to each person and their family and their situation. I could just, I could put something up on Teachable that just me blabbing away, but we like to do it so it's much more personal for each person.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, and in the present moment too, because issues come up, feelings come up, and
hey, this happened yesterday. Well, let's take a look at that. And look, here's how it applies to pace and to space and all that sort of thing. Let's do that.
That's so good. And so can people get a hold of you for the virtual coaching through the Treehouse website, or is there a separate one? Okay.
A separate one. They can do it through that. That's the best way. treehousehealth.net.
Great. Okay. We'll link that for sure.
Awesome.
That is so important to have that resource. I am finding that a lot of families that are reaching out to us that are searching for resources, that there's a long list, or maybe they can't find a therapist who's trauma informed or attachment focused and doesn't understand these niche needs and the goal of therapeutic parenting. So Billy, this is such a valuable resource for our listeners.
It is.
Thank you. I've been doing it for a long time and I just adore doing it.
Yes.
And everybody I train everybody in the practice how to do it, and we all do it here and talk. So it's really great.
Awesome. And I'm sure as a parent that you would have fun working with Billy doing this. There would be some laughter there somewhere, and maybe a ukulele solo. I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't brought my ukulele for a little bit, but I could do that.
Anything's possible,
Billy. It was so much fun to see you in the studio, and I hope that we at least made the listeners smile in some way.
I sure do.
And if not, we'll try again another time, right? If you didn't smile, message us and we will have Billy back and figure that out, because I don't know that you can be in Billy's presence and not feel the warmth and feel the joy. So
amen. Yeah.
You're also
thank you.
sweet.
And thank you, listeners, for being with us today. We'll catch you on the next episode.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Regulated and Relational. In our next episode, join Ginger and Tracy Leonard, our new executive director, as they speak with Sage Hancock, the executive director and co-founder of Generation All, a nonprofit dedicated to breaking the cycle of generational trauma and sexual violence. They'll explore the prevention and healing of adversity in childhood. A special thanks to Joe Kramer for donating the music. To learn more about the Attachment and Trauma Network, visit us at www.attachtrauma.org. I'm Lauren Cassis, and as always, thank you for listening.